up, VC? My name's Kieran, if you're tuning in for the first time. This is what's playing. This is the first track off this Sonny Stitt record, Tornado. Show this in my next video, so I got 2 videos to film here. But something I picked up over the summer from a local shop here. My first Sonny Stitt record. Anyway, so summertime, spent lots of time outside. And now today woke up to some snow. So I'm gonna be spending more time inside, obviously. So time to listen to records, time to make some videos. Also just been a lot of good content going around the VC with FMU a couple weeks ago. And so a lot of fun content for that to watch, you know, Dom and Alex and etc. And then also Dom did that live stream with Chris and Fred, etc. Great to see them behind the camera. So yeah, figured I'd jump on before I kind of spend the next few hours listening to records, but where to start? Okay, so I posted on Instagram. This is the rest I haven't shared, but this, as we all know, this came out recently. The Pharaoh box set, so was super excited, like many of us, to get this because the original is very difficult to procure. Anyway, some of you may know this, most of you not, but I had a chance to buy an original of this in 2017, and it's a record I discovered through YouTube, the album, just like listening over and over again, absolutely loved it. And a local shop in 2017 had an original. Huge collection that they had bought as a thing, so there was just tons of stuff. I was going in regularly and buying great jazz records. A lot of this stuff, you know, on the shelves here came from that collection. And I didn't buy this at the time because, you know, it was one of the more expensive pieces, and it was like, do I buy, you know, 10 other records or this one? So anyway, I regretted it obviously because the price just skyrocketed, and it was unlikely that I was ever gonna find one, and that was fine. Lots of other good records, but still kind of ate away at me a little bit that I didn't pull the trigger when I had the chance. Anyway, super excited to get this a few weeks ago. And as I opened it up, I was, you know, waited a few days till I had like a nice calm morning to kind of play it and enjoy it. And as I'm tearing the shrink off the box, I kind of have this feeling followed by a thought of like, I think I'm gonna find this record. Or I was like, I'm now gonna find this record. And I didn't really believe it, but it was just kind of the thought and feeling that came to me. Anyway, really enjoyed it, listened to it a few times. Still need to go through all the extra stuff, but really nice box set. If you're interested, I would pick it up. But anyway, a few hours later, my friend Dave Belson, who many of you may know if you follow on Instagram, Wantless Records, Record Bug, used to make videos a long time ago. Anyway, texting me a picture, as he usually does sometimes when he gets cool stuff for the shop or whatever, buys, and it's a picture of this record. With another record, a Joe Henderson, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I know Dave already has a copy, and he's like, "Oh, you don't have that?" He didn't remember that whether I had it or not. He was just kind of sharing it as a fun thing to find. And anyway, so happens to be I was meeting up with Dave a week or two later, which was last weekend for the Vermont Record Fair. So he was selling at the fair. For the first time before COVID, and so the timing worked out, and I was able to just make a deal with him. Brought a big stack of records that I had for trade, and he picked through them and just was able to procure this record, which is an OG Pharoah Sanders Pharaoh on India Navigation. So this was like number 1. Top of the want list, as well as top of the didn't buy regret list, and now all is well and in balance in my record collecting world. I'm assuming most of you are familiar with the music, but it's a different side of Pharaoh. I mean, he has this obviously heavy, fiery side, but this whole thing is just absolutely beautiful. To me, the definition of spiritual jazz, just really soothing for the soul and beautiful, beautiful music. I will put this back so we don't have any accidents, but anyway, as you can imagine, over the moon, just still in kind of awe and shock that I got that. And for those of you that don't have the music or aren't familiar, I definitely highly recommend you check this box set out because it's really well done. So I mentioned he also shared a picture of a Joe Henderson. So I said, why don't you bring that one along as well, Dave, and we'll see what we can do. So was able to get this from Dave as well. Joe Henderson on Blue Note that did not have. I don't have any original Joe Henderson Blue Note stuff, I don't think. Like 70s press and stuff. But anyway, this is an original, which is a Liberty press. So it has the Blue Note Records ink, but it was one that never came out before the sale. So as you can see, a little bit of, it's a radio station copy. So the cover has a little bit of wear, but the record's in great shape. So also over the moon, because I didn't have this on CD, I had streamed it a bunch, but first time owning a physical copy of this. So absolutely thrilled. Incredible music. If you're not familiar, but Lee Morgan is on trumpet, who's one of my favorite trumpet players, if not my favorite. Curtis Fuller on trombone, Bobby Hutcherson on vibe. So this era of Blue Note is just, one of my favorites. Cedar Walton, Ron Carter, and Joe Chambers. So just killer lineup. Definitely has an edge to it, but it's not out there. It's just that sweet spot for me, the like 66 to 68, where music is evolving, but still very accessible. So I'll go through, I did pick up, so basically we met up with Dave on Saturday, the fair was on Sunday. We met up at the end of the day Saturday, and we had an Airbnb, grabbed some local beers, went to grab a bite, and then had to help him just get ready for the fair. Not everything was priced, which was great. He had a portable record player, was able to just kind of spin some stuff, chat, really chill evening before the fair the next day. So I did grab a few other things from him, of course. He always has nice stuff in the crates. I grabbed this Natural Food LP, which I was not familiar with the music at all. It's on the Seeds label. So there's a local Massachusetts label, very small private press. Eugene Lee is the most famous. I think Eugene Lee was originally released on Earth Forms and then on Seeds. I'm not sure which one came first, but I do have one other record on this label, Barigua. And this is really nice, kind of soulful stuff. I've listened to it with him there, and it really spoke to me. So definitely not something you're gonna find locally here in Montreal. This is one that I was surprised I enjoyed as much as I did. I figured it would be more heavy and out there, but this is the Jerome Cooper Quintet on About Time Records, and it's actually a much later release. It's from '88, I believe. And he has that other record on About Time, which is solo percussion, but this one is actually, it's free, but it's not like, it's definitely sparse, it's not super dense, and it really spoke to me. So it wasn't something I was really kind of looking for, but when I gave it a spin there, I was kind of like, wow, this is a beautiful record. Joseph Jarman on tenor sax and flute, William Parker on bass, Thurman Barker on drum, says drum set, and Jason Huang on violin. Jerome plays drum set as well, and other things I don't even know. Chiramia, African balafone, Mexican flute, hourglass drum, and a frame drum. So as you can imagine, just based on the instruments, interesting recording, but really well done. So if this type of stuff interests you and you're not familiar, highly recommend you check it out. So I was happy to find that, something that wasn't aware of. On the complete opposite of the spectrum, something that I grew up listening to as a kid with my dad, but not something I've listened to recently, never owned a physical copy in any form. And this is The Doors, self-titled. And this is an original, well, there's a million pressings, but it's a, stereo pressing, one of the original stereo pressings. Really nice copy of that. So super, just, I don't buy a lot of rock, but this is the record that I loved listening to with my dad as a kid. So excited to have this and give it some spins. This record I've wanted for years, and I recently, this past year, picked up an original Jamaican pressing, and it doesn't sound amazing. And Dave had this in his crates, which is the US pressing of Burning Spear, Marcus Garvey. I love the dub version of this record, but the original one is excellent as well. So if you don't know this, if you're into reggae, you probably do. And if reggae isn't your thing, I would say this maybe it's a great entry point for reggae. Just absolutely love this. This is one that I wasn't too familiar with the music, but someone had, I guess, shared it or had done a write-up about it on Instagram probably, but I had added it to my want list years ago. Andrew Cyril, Special People, on Soul Note. So always fun to get another record on Black Saint and Soul Note. I mean, I'm not trying to collect them all, but there's definitely a few good ones that I'm still after. So this is featuring Ted Daniels, Nick Geronimo, and David S. Ware. Is anyone else on here? I've never heard of Nick Geronimo. Plays bass. What year is this from? 1981. Haven't spun this yet, so looking forward to that. A couple more from Dave. Another reggae record that just I've seen posted a million times, so I was always looking to grab a copy because I know it's highly regarded. U-Roy, Dread in a Babylon. So still need to listen to this. And then one that David put aside for me months ago, actually, when he found it, because I said, I'm interested in that record. And it's Ted Daniel, who's on that Andrew Cyril record. It's a private press, Ujamaa Records. So free jazz from the early 70s, I believe it's 71. But we gave it a listen, and it didn't blow me away, but it also wasn't, there was some nice moments. I was like, okay. And also it's not free jazz that's that super dense heavy. There was definitely space in it, which is what I'm drawn to. Otis Harris, the other musicians here I'm not familiar with. Otis Harris on alto sax, Hakeem Jami and Richard Pierce on basses. Obviously the two bassists makes it always an interesting recording, especially as someone who really enjoys bass. And Kenneth Hughes and Warren Benbow on percussion. It's actually recorded live at St. Paul's Chapel, which is part of Columbia University in New York. So October 15th, 1970, Ted Daniel. Okay, so now we get into everything else. So that's all stuff that I got from Dave. Thank you, Dave. Follow him on Instagram, Wantless Records. He has a small shop in Newton, Massachusetts. Really quality record, well curated, always cleaned and nice looking copies. They don't really have beat up stuff in their shop, so great place to shop. So I went on my way, before I met Dave on Saturday, I stopped in Winooski at Autumn Records. I didn't have time to do both shops, but I went in and I was chatting with Greg, the owner. If you don't know Autumn Records, they have a lot of good stuff as well. They have a Discogs, I believe. They have a lot of stuff on Discogs actually. And then, so I was chatting with Greg, and before I started to flip through, and I was like, going to the fair tomorrow. I'm getting some nice stuff from Dave. I'm not, I don't know, probably won't buy too much. Not really looking to, get a lot of records, which I failed at that mission. I ended up with quite a few. But funny enough, as I'm chatting and I'm starting to flick through the bins, the first record in the new arrivals of jazz is a record that I've been after. So kind of laughed there. I was like, oh, so much for that. And, just a cheap heat piece. Louis Hayes, The Real Thing, on Muse, as you know, if you've been following me for years. Love the Muse label, and I have a small list of records that I still want on the Muse label. Might not be complete list, but there's ones that I'm aware of that I want that I don't have. So killer lineup here: Woody Shaw, Renee McLean, Ronnie Matthews, Stafford James, and Slide Hampton. So this is a later one, I believe, 1978. Just great value here with the lineup and the quality of the music for the price. It's like, $10-12 or something. definitely recommend you pick that up. One I wasn't familiar with at all, and actually when I was there this summer, funny enough, I picked up another record on this label at Autumn Records in June when I was there. This is Don Menza, First Flight, and I just, you know, the Catalyst label caught my eye, so I checked it out at the shop, and it was sounded really good actually. Who else do you have on here? Anyone of so Paulino? I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but the Brazilian percussionist is on here. Yeah, that's the only other musician that I recognize on here. But a great late 70s. There's just so much good late 70s jazz that you can get for cheap. 75 and on, I would say, and then just, you know, you're paying, there's so much rare stuff that's in it, like so expensive, and then you can get so much great stuff as well for cheap price. So sometimes, yes, it's discouraging the price of records, but still a lot of good stuff to be had for reasonable prices. So down into the fair finds. This is also from Autumn, and actually Greg had said, oh, there's some more stuff you'd be interested in on Muse and stuff in my crates that I have for the fair. So got to the fair, got to go in before the fair opened up, because I was helping Dave out, set up his table a little bit. And there's another Louis Hayes on Muse, Breath of Life. And this one I did listen to. It's actually the first thing I put on when I got home. And this is a promo. A bunch of the stuff were promos on Muse. But this thing cooks. Totally different lineup. And the other one was 78. This one's way earlier, 74. Explains a different lineup. Tex Allen, Gerald Hayes, Charles Davis, familiar with, also Ronnie Matthews, David Williams, and Toot Monk. Great record. Looking forward to giving that some more spins. This is a double. I already have this, and I absolutely love this record. And I'll just compare the copies because, you know, it's such a cheap record and so good. So I wanted to see which one sounded better. But this is Heartbeat by Buster Williams with Kenny Barron, Billy Hart, Ben Riley, and Jimmy Rolls. Funny here, someone wrote in pencil, "No Stealing." Great record on Muse if you don't know it. What do I got here? This one's also on Muse, but it's on Timeless Muse. It's a reissue of some kind, not the original cover. I guess this is the US. I guess there was an original on Timeless, which came out of, is it the Netherlands? That would have a different cover, but this one's from 79. I think this might be like an 82 press, but yeah. Cedar Walton, Bob Berg, Sam Jones, and Billy Higgins. Eastern Rebellion 2. One of my favorite jazz records and one of the first jazz CDs I ever bought, probably around 20 years ago now, is Blues and Roots, Charles Mingus. And I already have a couple copies of this, but they're not, you know, perfect copies. And this one, the vinyl it's an original mono pressing, and it is in beautiful, beautiful shape. And thankfully it does sound that way as well. The thing with this is I'll just go flip the record around. So yeah, the seller had a few really nice jazz pieces, and bittersweet because record's really clean, but the covers had smoke damage. This one wasn't as bad as some of them, but like along the outside of the cover is just kind of all black, and you could smell it. No, this one smells okay now. Anyway, I was able to clean it up. I got a lot of it off with just kind of, it's a laminated cover, so a little swab with alcohol. And anyway, you can see here, just the little brown. The worst of it is in the corner there, but it's not so bad. And actually the cover I have is, I might kind of mix and match, as they're both original monos, to have a nicer copy. But overall, this, you know, really happy to get a clean copy of this. This was just released as part of that Atlantic 75th anniversary, I guess, pressed by Acoustic Sounds, QRP, pressed at QRP, I believe, but 45. I was like thinking of getting it, because I was like, I can get a really nice sounding copy of this, but it's at 45 RPM. And then I found this, so I think I'm good here. There was a cellar just kind of next to Dave's table. This is the last of the stuff from fair. I have some more records to show here, but this is the last of the stuff from the fair. So yeah, I didn't get too many records at the fair itself, because the records I got from Dave, I had already kind of chosen out the day before. So that was at the shop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 records at the fair. There was a cellar next to Dave that had a lot of really good stuff. Could have got more. A lot of it I already had, but just, midway through the fair, he's pulling out like Gil Scott Heron on Strata East, and a couple other Gil Scott Herons actually. He just had a lot of nice stuff in his crates, but this is a record I didn't have. It was on the want list, the Blackbirds on Fantasy. I think this is the last one I needed. Maybe there's one more that I don't have, but of the kind of essential ones. But I cleaned this up yesterday because when I first put it on, it didn't sound great, but we'll see how it sounds. Hopefully the cleaning helped it out. This is one that I was kind of familiar with the cover, but I had added it to my want list years ago, but not something I'm really familiar what it is at all. But this is Clifford Coulter, Do It Now. It's actually on Impulse from 72, I believe, and it seems like it's a kind of a mixed bag of different stuff, some bluesy stuff, some funky stuff. I believe, if I recall, Mel Brown is on guitar on this, so that gives you an idea if you're familiar with Mel Brown's work on Impulse from the early 70s, kind of the sound you might get. Clifford is here he plays guitar and tambourine, here he's playing organ. He also does the vocals, so it's kind of like a funky soul, bluesy. I'm trying to see if I recognize any other musicians, but I do not. So yeah, anyway, this is what this kind of gives you a sense too of what the vibe. Anyway, I'm looking forward to giving this one a spin. And then this is a record that I didn't buy years ago, I remember, and still not expensive. So I was like, oh, this time I'll grab it. This is the Rural Still Life by Tom Scott on Impulse, original stereo pressing. And there's the track With Respect to Coltrane on it. The whole thing sounded nice, but With Respect to Coltrane's a really nice song on here. So worth checking that out, kind of in the Coltrane mode. Deep reaching sounds. Okay, this little stack I have here is stuff that actually Dave was holding for me that had been shipped to him. So this is something I bought off Jeff, Mostly Records, last year. It actually arrived, I think, the week after I left Dave's, or like a day or two after I left Dave's last summer. So Bernie Worrell, All the Woo in the World, some P-Funk. And then Jeff was actually nice enough to throw in some stuff. This is a record that we had discussed before, and that I had trouble finding a copy for a cheap record. And one, you see John Clemmer stuff all over the place, but you don't see this one ever. And I know he was recommending it as being good. So Eruptions on Cadet. Haven't spun this yet. Looking forward to that. And then he threw in some VCLT, very kind of him. The John Carter record that I've never even seen before. Dance of the Love Ghost on Gramavision. I've never really connected with too many records on Gramavision that I've checked out, but I'm excited about this one from 1987. And if Jeff threw it in, I'm expecting that I'm going to enjoy it. And a record on Japo that I was also not familiar with. Looks really interesting, actually. Magog. No idea what to expect from this. So Japo being a sub-label of ECM. And then a couple records that I bought from another VC member, or actually no, one that I bought, one that he scooped for me and shipped them to Dave. So really excited about this. This is one of these, I haven't listened to most of these because I just got back. But this one was really, really enjoyable. Did not disappoint. James Tatum live at Orchestra Hall, the Paradise Theater. So James Tatum obviously has that famous contemporary mass record from earlier in the 70s that is not one I'll likely ever to own an original of, but this is a live performance and it's really, really good. So I'm always interested in Detroit. I mean, I have a little bit of a connection to Michigan, Detroit, so through my cousin, so I'm always interested in the scene there. Doesn't say what the year, yeah, this is from 1980. Just kind of the reason why I was really interested in this record that we're listening to right now as well. This was I'm assuming was sealed when originally the guy that I got it from bought it, and it was still in shrink, but we removed the shrink. And then an upgrade copy of this from Jazz Record Center that hit, because my copy is rough. So Archie Shep Blase on BYG. So that's it. 26 minutes, not so bad, but that's everything that I got last weekend in Vermont. Hope everyone's well, and thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna film this video of kind of all my summer finds, and I'll post that up there as well. Peace.